Hello, everybody. Welcome to your microbiology class for this fall. Everyone is registered for this online lecture, and then you're registered for a lab. Some of you are registered for a face-to-face lab on Wednesday afternoons. Some of you are registered for the online lab. You'll have a welcome video, not only the one you're watching now, but also the one for your lab. Okay. Very important for you to know in your courses. The syllabus is our contract with you. So your instructors put together a syllabus. It's got all the details, right? It's going to have my name there, how to contact me, my office hours. It's also going to give you an idea, like here's the course description, of course, your course learning outcomes. The course is built on these course learning outcomes. You may not always notice it, but it's part of the themes of the course. You'll see here in the syllabus, there's some technical information, the textbook, and so on and so on. It tells you how you'll be essentially taking your online exams with the Respondus lockdown browser with screen recording. Gives you some information here if you have a Chromebook, or if you're a STEM Academy student. So it's important to take a look at the details of the syllabus. And it's important to do that in every single class that you take. There's a lot of information here, very helpful information. You're going to want to come back to it over and over and over again. As I scroll down, you're going to see here the assignment due dates and any missed assignments. So we have a lot of points in both the lecture and the lab courses. There's already a little bit of a built-in cushion. The virtual labs that we'll do if you're in the online lab, you're going to see that gives you a cushion. You do the lab, you get your points. In the lecture, we're going to use some smart book assignments. You do the assignment, you're going to do it until you get mastery, so you're always going to be guaranteed a certain number of points. So it says here, assignment due dates and missed assignments. I don't do makeup assignments. There are so many assignments that missing one here or there is not going to make or break your grade. I would guarantee it. If a student is that close to a higher grade, then I already have a built-in mechanism to make sure that like a 3-point or 6-point assignment out of 900 points is not really going to affect you. So please know that you need to do your assignments on time or just forget about it. Exams, exams are kind of a case-by-case basis. I don't really allow missed exams unless you have an extenuating circumstance. You ended up in the ER. Suddenly your internet went out, all the different things. So just be a responsible human being and keep up on your work in this class. The class is built on study guides. So these study guides are designed for you to know what is the most important material from the lecture information or from the textbook. It's my recommendation that you print all your study guides. And I don't just say that because, I like to kill trees or I'm old school. There is very good scientific data that says handwriting notes is a better way to learn than typing it. And certainly everyone should be engaging with their study guides and writing the answers out. So I recommend printing it. You can always adjust the number of returns or spaces between the different learning outcomes on the study guide so that you have plenty of room to write. If you just absolutely have to type it, you can do the same thing with that. You download it, you type up your answers on the study guide. So there will be lecture videos each week. I'm not going to take attendance from the lecture videos, but I know that there's, again, very good scientific data that says hearing the information as well as engaging with the reading and the study guide, this is the way that we learn. So it's super important that you plug in and engage each week, that you schedule the time to sit down and work through a portion of the study guide. So maybe you're not the kind of person to sit down for 3 hours and like hyper focus and just move through all the material and get it done. Maybe you're someone that has to chunk it up. That may be because that's how you prefer to learn. It also may be that you just don't have the freedom to sit down for 3 hours and do the work. The most important thing that you can do is prepare and plan in advance. So you need your study guide. You need to have access to your resources through McGraw-Hill Connect. And that when you're sitting down, that you're ready to focus and put your time and energy into learning the material. I find that the biggest mistake for students in an online class is they think they can fit it in. Maybe they're working a shift, 11P to 7A, and you're a CNA, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get this done, on my break. Okay, sometimes you don't have a break. There could be a fall, there could be an accident, there could be, a life or death situation, and so you just don't have the time to do that. So trying to schedule doing a course like during breaks at work isn't really, thinking about planning ahead and scheduling the time to do it. So I really suggest don't try to learn that way. The lecture assignments you're going to see, we're going to have something called a smart book assignment. So it's going to be a little agonizing, but if you do what I'm saying, so if you start with the study guide, you're reading the material, you're engaging with the videos as you're able to, then you're going to have a pretty good idea of the information. The smart book assignment is going to help you learn terms and differentiate between concepts. And there is a certain a percent grade that you have to get on those to have mastery, okay? So it may keep throwing questions at you that you've seen before because you missed it before. So if you're not fully engaged, believe me, you're going to be really frustrated having to see that same question over and over again. So you might as well learn the material, master the question, and boom, you're done. There is an opportunity to essentially review this material. So it's called a recharge. So we use the recharge to essentially kind of enhance or solidify or remind ourselves of that material as we're going into the exams. All right, next up we have our lab assignments. So it doesn't matter whether you're at the face-to-face lab or the virtual lab, you have a lab assignment. Again, it's a really good idea to print these lab assignments. If I were you, I would be printing my syllabus, I would print my study guides for lecture and lab or the lab manual, and I would put these things in a 3-ring binder and it would all be there. My notes would be there. Again, a mistake in an online class is thinking, oh, all this virtual stuff and all these things we kind of see here and there that somehow I'm going to remember that. That's not the case. I can watch a video for this 15 minutes and then look at that study guide and answer a few things. And then maybe if I'm in the online lab, I'm doing a virtual lab. And then I'm like, there's all this stuff just swirling around. But if you have a place to put your notes, and that's why we have these study guides and we have the lab handouts, this is the way that you're going to be reporting or recording exactly what you learned from those activities. So it's super important, okay? You do have, I think, 100 free copies at any of one of our campuses so that you can print these documents. Honestly, it's a cheap way, even if you have to pay the 7 or 8 cents each, it's a cheap way to print these things out. I would not go to Staples, it's expensive. If you have a home printer that has like a pretty cheap ink, so I do the refillable one for my Eco Tank, great, print it at home. If you don't have a printer at home, you don't have to buy a printer, just make some time if you're on the main campus or the Myra Center that you can print these documents. Okay, so other important information always in your syllabus is withdrawal policy, how, at least for me, how I'm going to post your grades. There's also some information here on how to see what you missed on old quizzes. And then the really important thing is how do we calculate your course grade? So this is super important, right? And we publish it. I publish this so you can see exactly what's going to make up your grade. As we move along through the course, you will have a column in our lecture course that will have your lecture grade. Periodically throughout the semester, I will update your lab grade, and then you will see exactly where you stand in the course in its entirety. So the lab grade becomes part of the lecture grade. So I do that, but even in the lab section, you're going to see where you stand as you're taking your virtual labs or you're in the face-to-face lab. We have lab reports and we have a couple quizzes and some attendance. So essentially then you can see your grade as you're moving along. And I really like that because it makes your grade transparent to you. There's no hiding anything, right? I'm not trying to keep that from you. There's some other important things here. The CCC basic needs statement. If you find yourself food insecure, you're having a housing issue, maybe even gasoline issue, mental health stuff, there is resources for you. Okay, So in the latter part of this syllabus is exactly, essentially, what we're doing each week. Gives you the lecture topic. You will see the chapters associated with that in my videos. But essentially, here you have it. The topic, the start date. Essentially, as we get past the first week, because the first day of school is August 24th. But essentially what I will do, for example, for week 2, I will open that the Friday before official week 2 so that you can start over that weekend, okay? And then you have the next weekend to finish. So our due dates are always on Sunday, except for the final exam. Final exam will be due on a Thursday at noon, but every other due date is Sunday at midnight for our online lecture class and for online labs, okay? You see how many points you're getting, and this is for those smart book exercises. And again, that's going to be due on Sundays. Exams are due on Sundays. You can see the point values here. And again, the week's information opens the Friday before, so you actually have 2 weekends to do the material. You have the weekend just prior to the official week, and then you have the weekend after, except for, again, week 1. So the course officially starts on Monday, August 24. Also, you should know that you're probably not going to get access to your McGraw-Hill Connect materials until the first day of class. So while you're in here and taking a look at the course, the layout, getting familiar with it, watching this video, maybe watching my first lecture video, that's awesome. You're just not going to be able to get access to that McGraw-Hill textbook likely until Monday. So just wanted to put that out there. Okay, moving through. I'm not going to change any of these dates on you. So the syllabus, again, is my contract with you. It's what you know what to expect. You know how to navigate the course. You know what's going to be required of you. And so it's super important. And if I were you, again, I would print the syllabus, put it in my 3-ring binder, but at the very least, print this lecture class schedule and have it in a notebook, or sometimes I will tape it up onto my wall in my office so I know what needs to happen every week. For me, the grading, but also when you all start asking questions, I'm oriented to what week we're in the course. So it's super important to be organized to move through any of your college courses. All right, so let's just go under content up here, and then you can see the course layout over here on the left-hand side. So this is already open, week 1, Intro to Microbiology, part 1. These other folders will not open until the Friday, again, before that official week starts. So we'll just take a look at week 1. Here's the video. Now, when I first started recording these videos in the spring, I was really hoping not to be making hour-long videos. Now, in my case, I do them in 15-minute intervals, so it's a good stopping point. Take a break, or know whether you can commit to another 15 minutes. Early on in this course, the content is pretty straightforward. It's probably review for you. So I kind of made those lectures a little punchier and kind of got to the cool part of the lecture. As I moved on through the various topics, some topics do require 4 15-minute videos to get through. And it's harder to leave out some of the concepts because they are more complex concepts. So I will start out in my videos and say, okay, I'm going to hit the highlights of this, of this particular topic. But then as I moved along, I had to do a bit longer videos. So here you will see the lecture study guide. Again, here's some information. I've already talked about this, but I would definitely be downloading that, putting lots of spaces, plenty of room to write, and then I would be writing out the answers to my study guide. The PowerPoint videos, I'm working on getting these web accessible. So I don't generally post a bunch of PowerPoints, but this was here simply because some people may not remember much about macromolecules, and I didn't do a big long lecture on all of that. But in general, I'm not going to be posting PowerPoints because they're really not that helpful. So welcome to the course. My name is Professor Powers.